Over 4.3 billion people worldwide use social media every day, according to Statistica in February of 2023. Social media causes extreme negative effects that we don't even realize are being caused by social media. Social media is a problem that is caused by phones, internet, and websites that can be solved by reducing our personal limits of social media influence. What is social media? Social media is the connection between people through networks and being able to share ideas, thoughts, and information through networks, according to Investopedia in February of 2023. There are plenty of benefits of social media, like connections between people. You can connect with people any time of the day, through anywhere, and anyone. There's also educational benefits, such as being able to get information and being aware of political situations going on in your world. And you can also get updates from your teams, your sports activities, your school. But the harms of social media is so much more prevalent in our world that we don't even realize how harmful it is. Harms such as social isolation, our sleep and our lack of quality of sleep, our mental health, and the addictions that are caused from social media. The first one is social isolation. We don't even realize how socially isolating social media can be, because we justify it by saying that we can connect to people, but we're not getting an actual emotional connection with people, according to the Child Mind Institute in December of 2019. And another very big prevalent thing about social isolation is we see other people on social media having what we consider a better life than ours, and we get the fear of missing out, or what's called FOMO, and that leads to depression or other mental health issues. We also don't realize how impactful blue light is on our sleep and our quality of sleep, because when we admit ourselves to seeing blue light throughout the day all the time, we see that blue light stimulates the brain to make ourselves awake. And 21% of adults say that they fall asleep, but then they wake up and look at their phones, and then they cannot fall back asleep because they looked at their phones, and then their brain finds themselves stimulated, according to the National Library of Medicine. And another thing that we find is there is an extreme amount of mental health issues that correlate with social media. Depression is one of those, and there's so much information out there that leading with depression rise, there has been a rise in social media usage, according to the Child Mind Institute. And we don't realize how much that correlates with everything else that we do in our lives. Because when we put ourselves and immerse ourselves in social media rather than doing our homework, and rather than doing activities, and rather than doing sports and being with our family and our friends, we don't connect as well, and we realize that we put ourselves in stressful situations. Another thing that is super not as well known is the addictions with social media. People don't realize what addiction actually is, because when you're not addicted to something, you just see other people that are addicted and you think, why can't they just stop? There's actually a chemical change in our brain when we're addicted to something such as drugs or gambling or social media, which are very correlated with the part of our brain that senses a trigger for what we call the reward system. And social media gives off what is called dopamine inducing. And we find that when you post something on social media such as Instagram, you find that when you get those likes and when you get those comments and when you get those shares, you find that there's dopamine, and you feel happy when you have that, and that's that reward system. But then when you don't get those likes, you fall down and you can't get back up, because you don't think that that's how that's supposed to work. Something that I've done personally to to limit the effect of social media on my life is to reduce my notifications. The first thing that I did was reducing my notifications for all my social media apps, but I also did it with everything else in my apps. I only really have my texts, my calls, my Google Classroom or other educational apps, and my health apps and Google Calendar. I don't like getting notifications that aren't from things that I find important or necessary, because that those notifications force me to put up my phone and think, oh, like, what's being sent to me? But if you don't have those, you don't pick up your phone and you don't realize how much social media influences your life when you don't pick up your phone. Another thing that I've changed is the limit of what I have for social media. So I put a limit of an hour on Instagram, and I have found that Instagram has taken up way less of my time, and I have plenty of time to do other things, such as do my homework, be with friends face to face and connect with them, and be with my family, and spend time with God, and spend time in music. And I've found that that's way more fulfilling than anything else that I could be doing. So I would call you and everyone in my audience to learn about social media first. Learn the effects that it has on you, and learn what really you can do to stop yourself from being on social media, and find that balance between what is social media and where do you find yourself thinking, oh, I can be on that to connect with my friends, and where do you find it as an addiction? Find a balance between that. Another thing is, start with your notifications. Start by turning off two of your apps for your notifications, and then keep that for a month, and then take 2 more. Another thing is, try the hour limit. Try doing it with your friends. If you find yourself continuing on, try going with your friends and saying, hey, can you set a password for my limit so that I don't go on this, so you don't know that limit. So I would just say, try to limit that social media, because you know how much influence that it has. Because when we do limit that social media, there is extreme benefits that you can have on your everyday life.